No, but I did get reminded, so we're good. Okay.
Harper, you're slipping on your jaw.
So I didn't say anything. So, slope review. Okay, classifying slope. Um, Basically, all we're doing is looking at trends. Okay, so when we're looking at the this first line, it's not gonna let me write. It's been stupid all day. Okay, this is what sort of trend? Positive.
Oh yeah. The other one's negative, right?
No.
See, I told you I'm bad at this.
Despite Jesus' sarcastic response, yes, it is negative.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so just to read trend lines. Okay, the technique that I would use with like pre-algebra when we're learning slope, or even seventh graders. Okay, if we're learning slope, is you kind of start your pen or your pencil down at the bottom, and you just start scaling upwards until you find the line. Okay, so I found it. If it's going up and to the right, it's positive. If it's going up and to the left, it's negative. Okay, so as I see the line, I'm like, okay, there it is. If I keep going up, I see it's going up to the right, and so I know it's positive. Okay, same thing with the negative line. You start at the bottom, you find where it starts. If it's going up and to the left, it's going to be negative. Yep.
Isn't the next one is it zero or undefined?
Zero.
It's a great question. Okay, so the next two, okay, one of them is zero, one of them is undefined. And one of them has to do with you can't have a zero somewhere. Okay? Yeah, crazy. So when I say you can't have a zero somewhere, where are we talking about when we're saying in a specific spot? Do we know?
What?
Wow. Okay, so Lane just woke up. So when I'm talking about you can't have a zero somewhere, okay, where is that somewhere that I'm talking about? Gray, do you have a guess?
I'm guessing it's the like the first point or like the X line.
You are hovering around it.
I'm in line.
So where you can't have a zero is somewhere in the slope. Okay? So when we're talking about slope, we're talking about rise over run. Okay? Now, this right here is a good slope. It's just a slope of zero, because zero divided by one is zero, right? That is your horizontal line. Okay? Is a zero.
Whoa.
Okay? The vertical line is going to be a slope of 1 over 0, which hopefully we all recognize as being impossible because you can't divide anything by nothing, right? So 1 over 0 is an undefined slope. And second semester, when we get into the trig concepts of geometry, we'll talk about, we'll do a little asymptote work and stuff, and you'll get into more undefined graphing stuff. So that'll be fun. Okay, so if we float down to this next section of this page, we're finding the slope. Okay, so on the left-hand side, you're given a graph. You're going to utilize something that we just mentioned, and that is rise over run. Okay, rise being your movement up or down. Okay, run being your movement side to side. Okay, so you're going to need to identify the ordered pair of each of those points. Okay, so for A, again, keep in mind that your points should be x, y's. Okay, x is side to side, y is vertical, up and down. Okay, so point A is going to be a point of -2, -3. Okay, and then B is going to be 3, 1. The bottom one, -2, -3. Okay. Now, I had you find the points. I want you to practice doing that. Please make sure you label them. Do I actually need those numbers to find this slope? Not necessarily. Okay. Now, you can use them. Okay. And we'll go over how to use them on the next side or on the other side. Okay. But if you're given a graph and you're given 2 points, you just have to do some counting. Okay. So I'm going to go from A and I'm going to go up for my rise. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's my rise. Then from that point, don't go back to A. This is the most yes, but to my surprise, it was an easy mistake. And it's not something I knew I needed to clarify until I learned last year that I didn't need to clarify. When you're counting your rise over run, don't go back to your starting point. You're counting your rise until you reach the level of whatever your next point is. And then from that spot, you're counting your run, or vice versa. Okay. And I saw a lot of students last year, they'd start at A and they'd go 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, good. And then they'd go back to A and they would get confused and they weren't really sure where they should go. You should count your run from this spot right here, right? So if we go up 4, then we're going to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, if you can focus on the trends that we just talked about at the very top, the positive, negative, 0, undefined, if you can focus on those, you never have to worry about if you're correct in making it positive or negative. Just look at the trend line, okay? Because that also throws a lot of students off. So if I went up 4 and to the right 5, I know that that's a positive, okay? But if I also just look at the graph and I run my pencil from down to up, and I see that it's going from left to right, going up, then I know it's a positive slope. Okay, so that would be my slope right there. Okay. Yeah, go ahead and do 2, 3, and 4, but I would like to go ahead and show you 5 real quick, and then you can finish both sides. Okay. So when given ordered pairs, okay, or points, what formula do we use? No, but that is a formula associated with slope. What is the slope formula is basically what I'm looking for. And that's going to be y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so basically finding the difference of y points or y values and finding the difference of the x values. Okay, so similar to it's very similar, Brandon. Yep. Very similar. So when finding the slope, okay, similar to other things that we've used like this, does it matter which ones you make the ones, which ones you make the twos? No, as long as you make both of the ones inside this ordered pair a 1 or a 2. They both need to match, okay? So I'm just going to make A my x1, y1, and B my x2, y2. Then when we set up the formula, I've got y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Then I'm just going to fill them in. So my y2 will be -1 minus 5. X2 will be 6 minus a -2. And slope formula is like the biggest place that I see us mess up on our signs. So just be very, very extra careful. -1 minus 5 is going to be -6. 6 minus a -2 is going to be a +8. So -6 over 8 is, if I were grading on standards-based grading and doing the 4-point grading system, and you answered it as a -6 over 8, I would give you a 3, not a 4. Okay, because you're right about the value, but it's not the best answer. The best answer needs to be simplified. So always check if you can simplify it. Okay. Yep.
So to simplify it, how would we do that?
To simplify it, you need to identify one number that you can divide both the top and the bottom by evenly. In this instance, it'd be 2. So really all you're looking for is a greatest common factor. Okay? So what you can always do, especially as we move into bigger numbers, is I'm just going to list my factors, okay, of 6 and 8. Factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. Factors of 8 are 1, 2, 4, and 8. 2 is the biggest number that they both share. So I'll divide both of those by 2. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. 8 divided by 2 is 4. And then that's your slope. Where did I lose you, Jesus? On this part?
No.
Okay. Okay. So I would like for you to practice. Okay, do 2, 3, and 4. Do 6, 7, and 8.
So we're just finding whatever pair is for the.
On 2, 3, and 4, just practice labeling the points with the correct ordered pair. Okay. Use rise over run to find your slope. On 6, 7, and 8, use slope formula.
Mr. Bennett.
So you can write that, but you want to make sure that you write that. That's
So I don't have to write anything else. Alright, cool.
So basically, you'll just want to identify them.
Mr. Bennett.
So for it to be a negative, only one of them will actually be able to. Because you have a negative on top and a negative on bottom, it's actually going to be positive. Right? So like if I would have gone up with E, kind of from A, I'd have gone left 5, which would have been negative, and then come down 4. So it's still positive. So for this one, you actually do only one block. So if that's what you got right there, just make sure that you simplify it. No, you can start from P or Q, and you can do up first or side. Yeah, so like if you'd have gone from Q to P, and you'd have gone, let's say you went side to side first, then you'd have had negative 6 as your bottom number. And the possibility of your top number, that's the next one, slope. Because we want to look at these fractions really like they're a problem. We'll talk about this.
Mr. Bennett. Is it the same for 0?
0 is actually 1 plus 0. Now, you don't have to put 0 over it.
Yeah.
Okay. You can just say it. That's it.
That's epic. Ramps up 10 my answer.
Wait, you have to label the slope.
You get to, yes.
Huh?
You get to.
Alright, so I don't have to.
You get to.
You have to offer.
Stop it, Mr. Bennett.
I can't. I'm on a paradigm shift kick right now.
Let's not.
I can't help it.
Habits.
I got -3/4.
Negative.
Oh yeah, but if it's fixed, I got 2.
Yeah, so I can't simplify it. We're gonna be after that. I just roll over.
No.
I actually stop. If there's something funny.
No, I'm actually all out now.
I'll be your best friend. Well, I probably will.
Yeah, because Harper's a
Thanks.
horrible friend.
She doesn't like old people. Well, no, it's just like some
She doesn't like old people.
No, some people just really bother you.
Thanks.
And no offense, but it's not that you're not one of those people.
It's not that I'm not one of you. He literally just said that I was. So you're saying I am one of those?
Well, like sometimes.
Ram. I found it.
Harper, this is not working.
Mr. Bennett.
No, you're already
Mr. Bennett.
crazy. Mr. Bennett, I'm running on my I'm gonna be here for another 12 hours.
Mr. Bennett. I found the answer to the universal question.
The answer to life in the universe is 42.
It's negative.
All right, guys, let's check these. What's up?
It's
So
actually
I
42.
baked some cookies.
I already had one.
Life in the universe.
Really good.
That's so good. I had not the one with the fruit in it. I had the one.
Chocolate chip. Regular chocolate chip.
Yeah, so good.
I don't know.
I was the first one.
Nice.
Yeah, she sent that message, and I was like,
I know.
I went down to the office.
Yeah.
So good
So,
job.
like, the other one I was actually trying out for the first time.
Okay.
Yeah. I
And
think
which one was that one?
It was a white chocolate cream.
Nice. Ooh, I bet that's good. All right. Well, I'll try that one next time.
There's still some left.
Okay. All right, guys. Again, I know for some of us this might be this is review, right? But there's still some nuances to this that we need to make sure that we clear up. So please focus for me, okay? On number 2, please make sure that you label them. Y'all go ahead and shut that Chromebook. We don't need it. I'll just label your points. Okay, so from 0, 0, okay, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the left. And I'm going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so P is going to be a -3, 4 point. Q is going to be 3, 1. Okay, and then so this is a couple conversations I was having. Is if the slope is a negative slope, then when you're actually doing the counting part of it, you only want one negative to show up, either on top or on bottom, but it doesn't matter. Okay. And the counter example that I gave was if you go back to number 1, we knew number 1 was a positive slope. Okay. but I counted from A to B, which was going with the trend line, right? It was going up with it. So what if we counted from B to A? We could do that. Okay, so you could go down, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so down 4 would have been my top, okay, my rise. And then to the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which was also a negative. So I'd have -4 over -5. A negative divided by a negative is what? Positive. So if you see two negative signs in your slope, it's a positive slope. It's okay. Okay. You want only one negative if it's a negative slope. Okay. So let's go back and look at number 2. Number 2, if we pay attention to the trend line, is a negative slope. So we can identify that it's negative. So we know that a number that we get for our slope should show up as negative. Okay. So I'm going to start with Q. I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3. Which means now I'm hoping I should be counting to the left, right? Because I should want my bottom number to be negative since my top number was positive. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Say -6. Okay. The only thing that I need to do differently or do further is to identify. Yes, no, you're not wrong. Well, I just want to identify my factors. Okay, and which is the highest number that they share. I promise that's a 3. So they share 3. I can divide both the top and the bottom by 3, which should give me 1 over -3, and that would be your slope. Yes.
Does it matter if we started with P or Q?
Nope. You can start with P or Q.
And that's going to be our end result?
Should be.
The negative sign.
So if you started with, really, if you start with P or with Q, it doesn't matter. It more depends on if you started with your run or if you started with your rise.
Okay, so if I start with P, would I
But-
put more negative sign on the 1, right?
Yeah, so if you started with P and then did you go to the side first or down first?
I went down first.
So if you went down first, then your top number would have the negative.
Yeah,
But it doesn't really matter.
I just wanted to make sure.
Yep.
Verify.
No, you're good. Okay. Worst case, or I'm going to say default worst case scenario, if you know it's supposed to be negative, but you don't know if you want your negative to be on top or on bottom, put it out in front. Okay. This is really the way that it'll be written on any standardized test that you take. Okay. So let's keep going. Number 3. You said my name, Harper? Okay. Let's keep going. If we look at the trend lines, is this undefined or 0? Undefined. Okay. Undef.
Oh, wait, so we don't mark anything?
There's nothing. Well, so you would label your points still. Yeah, sorry. So we'll go from 0, 0. We'll go over 1 and up 2. Okay. Now, because this is a vertical line, which numbers should match? Your X. Okay. So we'll have 1 and then -1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, -4. So you can identify that in problems over on the other side where if the X's are the same, the graph is going to be undefined. If the Y's are the same, it's going to be a slope of 0. Okay, which we get to the next one. Okay, J is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4 up, 1, 2, 3, 4 to the left. So it's going to be -4, 4. And again, we said, and that's for J. Oh, sad day. There we go. That's for J. And then for K, we would have up 4 and over to the left 1. So it'll be -1, 4. Okay. The Y's match up, so it's a slope of 0. Yes. Absolutely. Okay.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, just real quick. Say that one more time, Sam. Yeah, go for it. Over 2. Because that changes our value. We had 3 over 6. So you want to divide both of them by 3. And I see what you're asking. So sorry. Yes. You weren't asking if your answer could be over 2. You were saying the answer should be over 2. Yes, thank you for being the only one that caught it. Hey, did you say you need something to eat? Are you really going to pass out?
No,
Oh, an energy drink. Get out of here.
I feel like I'm gonna pass out.
No, you're not. Shut up.
Gage, you always feel like you're gonna pass out. That's normal at this
All right. Slope formula. Let's go over these real quick. We're not getting near as far as I wanted to.
Life is hard sometimes,
See, that's what I'm saying.
especially when it's what's
Just means more homework on Friday.
No,
So,
please.
I mean, it's not up to me. I guess it kind of is up to me.
I mean, do you really want to grade all that homework though?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
I mean, you can spend time with your child.
Yeah. Or play video games, you know.
I mean,
Okay. For slope formula, again, just really focus on the signs, okay, that you're paying attention to where negatives are supposed to be. So my y2 is going to be 7. My y1 will be -3. My x2 will be -6. My x1 will be -11. Okay. Both of these are going to do the plus plus because it's minus a negative, which is going to give me 7 plus 3 on top, -6 plus 11 on bottom. I can divide both the top and the bottom by 5, which should give me 2. Okay. Now, if you put 2 over 1 as your answer, that's 100% acceptable. I'd give you full credit. Okay. You just.
What? Harper.
I think your brain just mixed it up. You divided by the right thing. Yeah. Just be careful about what you put down.
Yes.
Okay. Next one. Please follow along. You're going to do x1, y1, x2, y2. So that will be, I'm not going to rewrite the formula this time just to save some time. Feels bad
What?
to not rewrite it.
Bro, would you
Oh,
stop
shy.
doing that, bro?
my wife is.
Okay. Now, again, we just talked, oh dear. We just talked about this.
That's like.
Now, if you had already identified that, then maybe you did that on these. For it to be undefined, what 2 values would have to match? The x's. So they match, so I could just look at that and know it's undefined without even having to do any math, which is cool. Your memory can be a great tool. Okay, so if I'm looking at the slopes of number 8, what values match? The y's. So it should be a 0 slope. We'll double check just to be sure. I'll make that my x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's going to be -3 minus a -3 over 0 minus a -7, which will come out to be 0 over a +7, which is 0. So yes. Okay. Any questions about the slope? Okay. Do some of us, you don't have to raise your hand. Do we feel a little bit more prepared for slope stuff?
Slope
Yeah.
was much harder
Good,
last
good.
year.
Do what?
Slope was much harder last year. It makes no sense. It got easier.
Mainly because you weren't our teacher.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
You'd be the cool teacher.
Quiet, please. Absolutely. I can show you more of that. Yeah, that's no problem. I actually am going to skip this next page. Well, let's take a temperature of the room. So, I would like for you to just put a 1 in front of you if I'm thinking 1 as low feelings on it. So a 1 in front of you. If you feel like we took a short quiz over this slope stuff tomorrow, no notes. A 1 is you feel like you would be close to failing. A 2 is you feel like you do okay. A 3 is you get an A on it. Just show me how you feel about it. 3 good, 1 bad, 2 in the middle.
Wait.
I see lots of
2.5.
Well, hopefully.
Mr. Bennett, I'm going 2.5
Is
this hour.
for these kids. Okay.
Okay. 10 out of 10. Would recommend.
I can't wait till after graduation age.
This man's gonna cut your eye.
I'm not gonna cut you out. That's not me. I am going to like set you on fire.
Please do. That would be so funny.
I definitely just got that on the recording. Not really gonna do it.
Dang it! Why not?
I really just said that for my fans.
Yeah, for YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I'm gonna use them by the angles and use them as.
Yeah, I'll edit it out. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
What did I say?
I do need to start this next section. Okay, so if you would go to the next page, please. It says parallel lines and perpendicular lines on it.
So we're not doing the
I don't think we need to. I'm going to use that for some people that want some extra practice, but
extra credit or practice?
practice.
Okay.
I'm not going to give you extra credit on
42.
this.
See, that's
So-
what it's down.
42.
If you know, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Bennett. I mean, Gallup put 42.
I'm not sure that will hold up.
I have no idea
Okay.
what you're talking
Will
about.
it hold up in a court of law?
Maybe we could talk about this later. We'll see. Okay. All right. Parallel lines and perpendicular lines. We need to talk about this. The reason we went over slope is because parallel lines and perpendicular lines have to do with slope. So, parallel lines have the same slope.
No idea.
That's
What?
crazy.
Y'all don't be rude. Okay, parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, the symbol for that is 2 vertical bars. Okay, kind of like an 11, but they should be longer than the normal text that you see. Okay, so if you see, let's say A and then those double bars and then B, what the problem's telling you is that line A is parallel to line B. Okay, so perpendicular lines have a negative reciprocal. Okay. Now, when I was taught this back when we used stone and chisel to take our notes, it was not negative reciprocal; it was opposite reciprocal. I preferred the opposite. So you can use what you would prefer, what makes the most sense to you. The reason that I don't like negative as much is because I feel like that puts in your head that it needs to be negative. But really what it means is it needs to be the opposite of whatever the other one was. So I'll show you what that means. The symbol looks like what?
That one symbol. Yeah.
It's actually an upside down capital T. Okay.
I remember that.
Yep.
I knew
So you've got one vertical bar and one horizontal bar, and that's the perpendicular symbol.
No.
I mean, geometry.
Mr. Bennett,
Yep.
that table has so much of a glare, it feels like there's a lamp behind me.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing.
Yes.
It does?
Yeah, yeah. really
Weirdly
does.
enough, it's coming from Jesus. I don't.
Maybe it's a
It's
present.
Jesus.
What?
Okay.
Jesus oh my God,
Jesus talks about his dad in here more than any student I've ever had. Okay.
very fine.
Very prideful. Okay. All right. Man, I'm gonna have to delete this recording. Negative reciprocals.
This is a sad recording.
What did y'all talk about in class today? Well, I said I was gonna set a student on fire, and then we talked about God a lot. So, All right.
Did you lose your job over this?
What'd you say, Harper?
I said I hope so.
You do? Because you know you would just have a sub in here for the rest of the year.
Send their recording to me hard.
Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah? I'll see if she can come back.
She doesn't make us do work. She just like gives
Okay.
And
Get
she
out.
always not make me to our class.
That's the best part. You don't learn.
Mr. Bennett, Mr. Bennett, can you send me this recording? If you
Why do you
want
want
to
to
know
know
who did it. Sorry about that. Ooh, is he partner?
What are y'all talking about? Okay. What about Texas?
Texas is
Are you from Texas?
Yes.
Oh, that makes sense.
well, I mean, I was talking with my dad about.
Does it make sense?
State dead taxes, man.
It's rare that someone from Oklahoma is going to trash me about being from Texas.
I'm not from Oklahoma.
Where are you from? Oh.
I'm so
Okay. All right.
I would say something, but.
Hey, Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, I heard they have less taxes.
Yes.
Thank you.
There's no state income tax. Okay.
Money.
We need to talk about this. Okay. Negative reciprocals. Negative reciprocals. Okay. To do a negative reciprocal. So basically what I'm talking about is finding the perpendicular line to a line with V slope. So if we look at number 1, okay, reciprocal means that you're going to flip the fraction, okay? So instead of it being 3 over 4, it's going to be 4 over 3,
Wow.
okay? That's the reciprocal. The negative part or the opposite part is whatever the sign was, you change it. So if it was negative, change it to positive. If it was positive, change it to negative. So since the slope that they gave you was positive 3 over 4, the perpendicular line to that would have a slope of negative 4 over 3. It's very easy. You just have to remember those two things. Okay? Yeah.
I got what I think is an interesting question. So if I have
It's presumptuous of you.
So if I have a -4 and a -3, wouldn't that just be a negative fraction?
No, a negative 4 and a negative 3 would be a positive. Because a negative over a negative is a positive.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Okay, so let's look at number 2. Number 2 is not a fraction, which means it's an invisible fraction. What number is on bottom?
1.
Always 1 if you can't see it. Always 1 if you can't see it. Okay, 2 over 1, we're going to flip it to 1 over 2
That's what I got.
and make it a negative.
I like
You hope he doesn't what?
No, I was talking to Melissa about something.
Cool, Melissa, let me know what she says. Okay, number 3. Do number 3 and number 4 on your own, please.
That's why
Me? Why are you so mean to me?
I'm not. I mean, you're mean to. Yeah.
You literally said you wish I would get fired.
That's not what I said.
Dang.
Oh no.
Oh no.
What'd you say, Melissa? You're about to get group in here. She goes, no. What? Why? I'm not sure calling your parents would do any good since you said that y'all, y'all
My
kind of.
parents don't really like
Neither do we. Harper. It's okay.
I don't need your.
Well,
No, you don't
that's
need to.
funny. It's not up to you on whether or not I can fit you. So I do what I want.
He's in a double Harper.
Are you
Mr.
alpha?
Bennett.
What did he?
Is that a problem, man?
Yeah.
So
Mentally and
Hey.
no. Yeah.
It is. I put them on top. A lot of times, I put it on top just because
It's never new.
Harper, we should say something crazy for the recording.
Yep. Not the last one. Not the last one. Okay. So let's look at number 3, and then we will be done for today. Number 3 and number 4.
Mr. Bennett.
Sorry about that. Sorry, Bert.
Focus, please. Thank you. Okay. We will flip the fraction. So it'll be 8 over 7. What happens to the negative? It disappears. Okay. Number 4. Oh, number 4 and 5. Excuse me. We need to go over both of these. Okay. So we have 1. It's not a fraction, so it's an invisible fraction of 1 over 1. Okay. If you flip 1 over 1, you get 1 over 1, and then you just need to change the sign. Okay. Which would be a line going at basically a 45-degree angle, and then a line going at a 45-degree angle the other way.
Would negative 1 work? We didn't put a negative 1 work.
Okay, last one. Number 5 is a fraction. It's over what? 1. So the opposite reciprocal is undefined.
Well, you could flip it and it would be 0.
You can't flip it. Your answer cannot be 1 over 0. That does not exist. Okay? So it's 0 and undefined are the two lines that will be perpendicular to each other. So if you have a slope of 0, the perpendicular line to that will always be a vertical undefined line. Okay? Always, always, always. Thank you. I love having that authority. So that's really, other than extra practice, that's really all we've got as far as parallel and perpendicular lines. We're already done with this unit.
Oh my gosh!
I tried to get rid of a bunch of stuff that I thought was unnecessary, which means we're going to do a couple more classes probably of some practice on transversals, parallel lines, perpendicular lines, and we probably will do a little bit of slope practice just to make sure we're good on it. And then we will take a Unit 2 test. We will take a Unit 2 test at the end of next week before we go to Thanksgiving break. Okay?
Wait.
No, you
Thanksgiving
get to.
break is the week after next.
Yes.
That's not a joke.
Yeah, why is that funny?
I know, Graham, why do you always play games on your computer?
Who said that?
I literally just saw you.
Graham.
That's funny,
One
Joe.
time
Is that funny?
Harper.
Also, wait.
That's so funny.
Oh, that's okay. I don't play a bit.
You don't play.
We will be taking.
You don't play your instrument.
Listen, please, before you start cleaning up. We will be taking the pre-ACT next week. Pre-ACT.
What if I get that one number on it that's very good?
What are you talking
Yeah,
about?
36. If you come, you'll have
What if I get 30?
Harper, why did you get to play Oklahoma?
I am also passing out flyers for high school night.
I don't play for Mr.
So it's really.
Why not?
Don't you bother me.
She plays.
Literally everyone bothers
It
you.
does kind of give you an idea of
Especially your
that
height.
scale.
I realized.
Five right now, and they're kind of like probably in the line.
I'm trying to say.
Really well.
Senor Bennett.
And that's a sophomore unit. But it's really practice. So that flyer that's stuck around, that Harper was so nice to volunteer to pass out, is the flyer for the high school night. It's to get you information on the different high schools that you could be going to.
What if I just skip high school? Oh yeah, that's my charger.